call our meeting kind of back to order. We did start at 6 o'clock and welcome our new guests to the room. The first thing that we have as we return from our little break is approval of the minutes from, we have three different, we have a board evaluation meeting, a regular meeting in March, and our winter board retreat or workshop. So I need approval of all those minutes.
So,
Second.
Rebecca, do you have something there? Thank you. Any questions on any of those minutes? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. And then we need approval of the agenda. Any additions, Dr. Brown?
No addition.
Okay, as
Motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we do have one public comment, and Gina Pagel would like to address us, and I think you kind of know the Army drill here. 3 minutes.
Not my first rodeo.
Not your first. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Gina Pagel, and I teach at Arboretum and have for, I lose track of how many years, 17 maybe, 18? And I'm here tonight to show gratitude for the fact that we've reached the point in the school year where you will be voting on the policy formerly known as the hate speech policy, though it is now part of a larger document. So it has been a long road, and it's a topic that students and staff have lifted up as a priority. We heard from students a few years ago at the gathering in the PAC about language that is used in our district that is beyond harmful, and I'm grateful that we are finally going to be doing more to address that. I do also want to just highlight appreciation for the section that outlines kind of the proactive part, because this isn't a topic that we've solved through only reacting. And when students learn how to speak up against hate speech or harmful language, they're better prepared to be members not only of our school community, but the larger community. I also just wanted to note that the students that we heard from at the MSAN conference last week had been surprised to learn that it would be folded into the harassment policy. So I do think we have some room for growth in terms of communication, especially when those students have attended meetings in the past to hear about the process that would bring us to this point. And if students and community members aren't aware of the progress that has been made or the vote that will be taken, I think we're missing an opportunity there. So thank you. And those students had also indicated that they thought it would speak more firmly if the harassment policy was a separate policy as it already existed. So I'd ask you just to keep that in mind as you make your vote tonight. Thank you.
At this point, I just would like to take a few minutes to recognize, with the election that we had at the beginning of the month, our board is losing 3 really dedicated, wonderful board members. And I appreciate the process, the whole democratic process, and I look forward to working with the new members that will be joining our board next month. But I have some plaques, and I just would like to make a few comments about the 3 board members that will be be exiting the board after this night. Starting with Katie Dolzer. Katie's been a 3-year board member, 2 years as a VP. Katie brings a parent-coach lens to the table, and she's been phenomenal. I appreciate so much Katie's advocacy for student outcomes, making sure that we have priorities around the table about student achievement. What I will miss about Katie is her constant smile. She comes to every board meeting just lighting up the room, and her very welcoming and appreciative comments that she makes around the table. So, Katie.
It's an honor to serve this school district as a school board member. It really is. So it's been a privilege, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity. So
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize Judy Engebretson. Judy chose not to run again for a variety of reasons, and I respect all that. Judy has been on the board for 6 years. She has served as a clerk all 6 years. She brings an education background. She was an administrator and a special ed teacher, and she brings that voice to the table. What I appreciate about Judy most is her kind of umbrella viewpoint to keep us in our lane of work. She very frequently says, hey, you know, are you talking about board work now, or is that an administrative job? She's really good at keeping us centered at the table. She easily and very sensibly can refocus us. What I will miss about Judy is her humor. She brings a party to every board meeting. And she has even hosted our holiday parties where the admin and the Board of Education have gotten together. So I will truly miss having Judy at the table for all that she brings to us.
And I too appreciate having served. It's a great honor, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a great experience. So I encourage all community members, if you're thinking about it, we've got elections every year, so think about that.
And the third member that will be exiting the board at this point is Jack Heineman. Jack has been on the board for 14 years. He has been the named treasurer for the last 5 years, but he's always been there. He was coaching Gary Epping. He was coaching pretty much every treasurer we had along the way. Jack brings a parent, coach, and a business voice to the table. And he's what I appreciate about him is he has long advocated for a long-term vision in our budgeting. We now work at 3 to 5 year budgets instead of just a yearly, gotta pay the bills and do it. He doesn't like any surprises of expenditures in the budget, so he kind of always wants to see that long plan. Jack has a very historical perspective of the district and the business in the district. What I will miss about him is his wealth of background knowledge, and I will also miss Jack's brain. He is always problem solving. He is like an ever-ready bunny. He's got something going on in his brain all the time, and it just like pushes out and keeps us all kind of rolling along, and I just so appreciate Jack. You are always thinking and always problem solving and always helping the district, so we will miss you. Been a good run. Sure, we can get all three of us. Can we just take a picture of the whole board after?
Sure.
I guess one of the things that I'd like to say, Joan, thank you for the kind words, you know, and I've really appreciated working with the board, you know, and debating occasionally. And, you know, I want to thank, you know, the parents, the teachers, and the community that have supported me over the years. And, you know, I'm still in the community, so I'm still going to be around giving you guys a hard time.
We'll still be expecting you to call. Thank you. Okay, with that, moving on to student reports. Our first group of students are our student council reps, Abby and Alina. Come on up. Tell us what's going on in the high school.
Okay, so just starting off with some club activities. A lot of clubs recently had like states, so there's going to be like a pretty big focus around that. To start, FCCLA went to state, and they had a lot of very like gold and top awards, which is very good. And then FFA also is sending a lot of CDE teams to state. Some of the individual students also received very high placement in the competition as well. So. That's more of the like hands-on competition that the FFA does.
And then the forensics team went to both states, WFCA and WSDA State, and at WSDA State there were many perfect scores, which is really amazing. And Science Olympiad also went to state, and there were some high awards with individual students doing well and 11th overall.
The civics team also did well, and they're going to state on May 2nd. And the NHS also inducted a lot of students yesterday. That was, you had to fill out an application to get into that club, and that's just a very high honor for everyone that got inducted. And I think that officer applications are still going on for that. I think that those are due on the 18th for anyone who's interested in that.
And then moving on to some of the high school activities, both Waunakee Physics 2 classes participated in the 2025 EMDC contest on March 14th. Basically, the competition is a Rube Goldberg event that is the next level up from the Physics 1 Rube Goldberg. There were 8 teams at that regional, and the Waunakee teams took 2nd and 3rd place, and both classes qualified for the EMDC championship, which will be held on April 25th at the Waukesha County Technical College. Teams from regionals throughout Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa will attend the championship.
Also today there was a leadership workshop that took place at Heritage. The middle school students that got to participate in that went earlier in the day, and then the high school students that got nominated went later in the day. So there was a guest speaker, and we did some leadership and like team building activities, and that was a lot of fun. Also later in this week, on the 16th and 17th, we have the pre-ACT. That's for freshmen and sophomores. Freshmen on the 16th, sophomores on the 17th. So we have late starts and change schedules that day.
AP tests are also coming up, so everybody's getting nervous for those and starting their studying.
And then this weekend on Saturday, prom and post-prom happened. And then along with that, on Thursday last week, we had a prom speaker, Brady Ewing, who was an NFL football player, and that was set up by the C Club.
And then moving on to more music, the musical You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown is performing in early May, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and they had an event for children on April 5th. And then also many students are going to go to state for a solo and ensemble at UW Platteville, and I believe that's also April 25th with the EMDC.
The Keynotes, which is Waunakee's vocal ensemble, vocal jazz ensemble, also performed at UW Stevens Point in their vocal jazz festival. And then usually we have a pretty big section about sports, but not much was really happening. We mostly just have spring sports still in session, and then upcoming tomorrow is Teacher Appreciation Night for softball.
That's all we had.
Great. Thank you, ladies. It's always a joy to hear from you. Anybody have any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Keep the stuff coming. Thank you. Do you want to do our Warrior Spotlight? So next we have our Warrior Spotlight, new to our agenda. And Dr. Brown's going to introduce that group.
Yes, and so this is our second Warrior Spotlight. So welcome to Ms. Meinholz and our students who are with us this evening from our DECA Club and our FBLA are here with us tonight. So if you all want to come on up. And we will allow you all to take it away and share with us a little bit about what's going on in the two clubs. So who wants to start first?
I'll start first. So,
All right, awesome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for spotlighting Waunakee DECA and Waunakee FBLA, and we're really excited to present our clubs tonight.
All right,
Yeah,
we
thank
have
you.
a slide. Oh, you're up. Okay.
Yes.
Just tell her when you want her to
Okay.
advance.
There is a clicker right up there.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay. So, my name is Vishnu Kata. I'm the president of Waunakee DECA.
My name is Maya, and I am the Director of School-Based Enterprise for DECA.
And this is our advisor, Mrs. Meinholz. So today we're going to really focus on competition, our events and activities, and our fundraising. So in terms of DECA districts, competition is a really big part of DECA. So we have a district level competition, a state level competition, and an international level competition. So in terms of our district competition, we had nearly 50 competitors, which is the most we've ever had in history for Waunakee DECA, which is an incredible feat for us. And this took place at DeForest High School. Can you please, oh my bad, I forgot about the clicker.
This is a list of our DECA state competitors, most of which medaled in districts, and they showed a great ambition for wanting to succeed in the next level of DECA. So we got to bring about, what is that, 15 students to our DECA state competition, and 4 of which got a place in our state competition and are succeeding on to ICDC, which is our international competition.
So these are the 4 individuals that qualified for the international competition, and you'll see that there are 2 individuals that qualified for a leadership team. And at the international level, there's a leadership academy, and these 2 individuals were accepted into that. So internationals for DECA actually takes place on the 25th until 30th, so it's coming up really soon, so we're going to start prepping a lot more for that. And as you can see, Lily Arndt and Allie Tisdale qualified for travel and tourism, and then Samuel Park and me qualified for hospitality services. And I just want to quickly bring up that DECA's competitions are really centralized around marketing, accounting, finance, and a lot more. It's not necessarily just centralized around marketing, which is what a lot of people assume about DECA, but it's really an overview of the business world.
So this is to start just our first 3 months of our program of work. In September, we did a lot of football concessions, as well as trying to increase our organization student base. We really focused this year on incorporating students who are determined to do more for their community. And so we actually incentivized all of our students in DECA to complete at least one of these activities that you will see on the board here. In October, we also had our Bucky Book sale, where every student had to sell at least 1 Bucky book. We did have a few students who did not get the sale for one of their Bucky books, but we made sure that they had ample opportunity and ample time to get that done. As for November, we had Chalk the Walk, which was like a charity that we had one of our other directors in DECA take the head on. And we actually got featured in the Wisconsin DECA Instagram page for one of our winners. We also did Color a Smile, which was something that I kind of took the head of this year, where we would have contact times where students would come in and then they would just color a coloring sheet and sign their name at the bottom, and all of those coloring sheets get sent to veterans, people overseas who are fighting for our country, and just anyone who needs a smile.
So this is our program of work for December, January, and February. So for December, we actually had a really busy month. So in December, we rang bells for the Salvation Army outside the Piggly Wiggly. And we also did the Rotary Lights in the Village Park. And we also, one of our major fundraisers was the food pantry holiday fundraiser, which FBLA took the lead on, so I'll let them go into more detail on that. And we started preparing for our competition because, like I mentioned, competitions is kind of a core principle of DECA, and we really place a lot of emphasis on it. So for January, that's when we had our DECA districts competition, and we had several individuals qualify for state, which was really amazing. And we also held the MDA pickleball tournament for the first time, and that was led by several individuals on our officer team, and it was really successful, and we raised, I think, almost $100 for the MDA. And then for February, we had the Polar Plunge, which is partnered with the Special Olympics. So all these individuals had to raise $100 to jump in to the ice cold water, and that money went to the Special Olympics. And we also did some Valentine's Day cookies where we bake it with a partnership with FCCLA and FBLA, and all these cookies went to the Waunakee Manor, I believe.
This will be our last program of work so far. So we had our DECA state competition in March, which was so much fun. I myself attended, as well as our president here, Vishnu, and Vishnu placed in his event. Unfortunately, I did not, but hoping next year. It was a lot of fun. We got a chance to improve our social skills. We also got to meet a lot of amazing people throughout Wisconsin who also participate in DECA, as well as meeting our new officer team, state officer team for next year. In April, we are hosting a Culver's Share Night, as well as a Melio's Donation Day, which is where part of the funds from Culver's and Melio's will be donated to DECA, and we are also helping them to raise more money and awareness for themselves. That money that is donated to us will help fund our ICDC competitors. And then we also had a LinkedIn contact time, which was where we kind of helped students learn more about how to figure out how to create a resume and just how to create a professional profile for themselves going into the business world after high school. And then in May, we will have lacrosse concessions for our sports. We are also starting a shoe drive, which is led by some individuals in DECA and FBLA. And then we also have our end of year celebration that will be super fun for all of us officers.
Excuse me, what's the shoe drive? Just bring any new shoes you got?
Yes, so the shoe drive, it is partnered with Soles for Souls, which is a company that gives shoes to people in need who just, they need a new pair of shoes. And we have set up a couple boxes around Waunakee where people can donate their shoes, and those boxes will be picked up, I think, at the end of May. And then we will donate those to Souls for Souls, and they'll do
Do you
with
have a
them.
location of where those shoe boxes are?
They should be in the high school.
I think we have a bunch.
It's not fully set up yet. We're actually doing it around the garage sale weeks because we thought that'd be best because everyone's doing spring cleaning and everything. And so I'm currently working on sending an email to all the elementary schools, middle school, and that to see if we can get boxes set up there. And then we're hoping to do some businesses around town too. We have some members that work at Ace Hardware and different businesses like that. I know I work at the bank and they're always willing to have set up boxes and stuff like that.
And I just want to put a plug in for that. It's new or gently used, so they don't have to be new.
Right.
They have to be usable.
So this is our last slide for tonight. So we have done a lot of fundraising for Food for Kids, MDA, Make-A-Wish, and MDA again with that pickleball tournament, and lastly the Waunakee Food Pantry. And you may be noticing that we've done a lot for the MDA in terms of fundraising, over $700. And that's really because we have individuals in our community who suffer from muscular dystrophy, so we place a really heavy importance on fundraising for MDA. Do any of you have any questions? Otherwise, that's it for our presentation. For DECA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to compliment you guys. I mean, I don't know how you find time to study.
Yeah.
But you are so involved in so many different ways, community outreach, your own, missions within the DECA and FBLA for your competitions, but, it's just a joy to see how much you're giving back to the community and your school. Nice job.
Thank you.
Well done.
And I just want to say that the students came up with all of that. We as advisors are just along for the ride. So they truly do put in, they come up with the ideas, they put in all of the work, they reach out to the community. I mean, they truly do so much to make those things happen.
We could not do it without you, Miley. Very awesome. Well, thank you, Vishnu, for sharing that. Now on to FBLA. We just kind of wanted to, my name is Haley Reynolds. I'm the vice president.
And I'm Katie Ganorski, and I'm the director of events and activities.
Could you tell me what FBLA stands for?
Future, sorry.
All you got it.
Future Business Leaders of America.
Thank you.
Sorry. And then as for a little chapter introduction, we just kind of wanted to highlight that this year we had a 16.5% increase in membership, and then we have a total current membership of 148 members.
So much like DECA, we do a ton of different activities and volunteer opportunities throughout our community. So this is just a preview of the fall or what we had done. We really want to highlight what we did our homecoming week at the high school. So we all got together and made spirit bracelets. So we beaded together a bunch of bracelets and we sold them at the high school during homecoming week and then also at the homecoming football game. We also created banners and then got to walk in the homecoming parade, which was a super fun activity for all of our members to partake in.
And then as for the winter months, we had a lot of fun. We do a lot of activities with DECA, so you'll kind of see like a little repeat with that. But yeah, we also did Salvation Army bell ringing and Rotary Lights, which helped us spread holiday cheer. I know at Rotary Lights we had hot chocolate there, and some of our members got to give it to police officers, and they really enjoyed that. And then in the January months, it's a little less busy. This is like us studying for competition as well. Our competition takes place in early February, and so we kind of want to give members a lot of time to prepare for that because it does take a while and there's not a lot of time during the school day too.
Okay, and then we still have a ton of opportunities coming up in the spring season, and we're especially looking forward to this Friday. We're going to the senior center to play bingo with some of the people there, so we're super excited about that.
Yeah. And then as for our business partnerships, we have many throughout the entire year. We kind of want to highlight our Waunakee food pantry. We'll talk about that a little later with our fundraiser. We got to do a little tour of their place earlier this year, which was very nice to kind of see kind of how their things run. We also had an FBLA Bucks Day where we got to go to Pfizer Forum and tour that facility and get some guest speakers and network with Wisconsin FBLA, so members throughout the whole state. And then we also got to attend the Bucks game later that night versus the Clippers. And then there's a little thing about the senior center. We're excited to play bingo. That's actually my papa up there. It's always, I got the idea from him because he's always enjoyed doing that, and so I thought it was a great way for our members to get involved. And then Junior Achievement, this is a program that allows our members to go into elementary classes and teach business lessons to young kids. It's a really great opportunity, and I first participated in my sophomore year, and it was such a great experience that really inspired me to become an officer, and it's really gotten me to where I am today. And then we've also had many guest speakers throughout this entire year. Our first one was Olivia Lemansky, who was an FBLA and DECA member throughout her high school career, and she kind of just shared how those clubs have helped her college experience so far. And then Therese Merkel, who is a local entrepreneur, and shared her journey.
So we do a ton of chapter fundraising. We've partnered with Nunes & Company, Emilio's, Bucky Book, and then this year we partnered newly with the food pantry. So we did a fundraiser called 50 Meals for 50 Years. That's celebrating their 50-year anniversary here at Waunakee Community. So we tried to raise enough money to give 50 meals out to people during the holiday time. So as you can see, we raised over $5,000, and that's just a huge accomplishment for our club.
And then as for our conferences, they're very similar to DECA. We kind of start at the regional level. Instead of they do districts and everything like that, we go regional, state, and then nationals. And so last year at the National Leadership Conference, it was in Orlando, Florida, and we had 4 members attend. I was one of those members, and we had a lot of fun. partaking in pin trading, also completing certification tests, and exploring what the city had to offer, such as attending the FBLA Universal Night, which was a lot of fun, where the park shut down to all FBLA members for I think a 2-hour span, and so it was a lot of fun just to kind of explore and go on rides with all other FBLA members. And then we have 10 members attending NLC this year, which is in Anaheim, California. So that's really great to kind of see that almost a double jump from the members that attended last year.
And then our regional competition is our first level, like Haley said. And this year it was at Middleton High School. We had 56 members go, which was crazy numbers. And then we had 26 members who placed. But we get to do a ton of networking with a bunch of different people there. Go to workshops and listen to different keynote speakers, which is always such an amazing time. And then we got 4th place, Outstanding Local Chapter, which just highlights how well our chapter placed in the competition.
And then as for our state leadership conference, we just got back from this about 2 weeks ago. It was in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and we had 30 members attend, which, to put that in perspective, last year we had 15 members, so we had over double this year, which is great. We had a lot of fun partaking in business tours. We got to tour Lambeau Field and the Hall of Fame, and I know different groups went on different tours. I got to go to Titletown Tech, which it was really fun just to kind of see how different businesses run and what they do. We also had fun at the Career and College Fair. We got to meet with a bunch of admissions officers and kind of talk to different colleges. And then we did team bonding as well. I know last year we did an escape room with all of our members, which was a lot of fun for them. And then last year at state we were the 5th largest chapter in the state, but this year we were awarded the 3rd largest chapter in the state of Wisconsin. So it was really great and kind of just showed how well our chapter is doing this year and the improvement. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of all about FBLA. If you have any questions, let us know.
Thank you for coming and sharing all of your wonderful activities that you're doing. It is extremely impressive, and we're appreciative of the role models that you are for the younger students that are coming through, and for us too.
Yeah.
You know, we can learn a lot from all the good work that you're doing, so thank you, keep it up.
Yes, thank you very much. It was wonderful.
Yes, thank you. So as a token of our appreciation for you all coming tonight, and here you have some homework down here, right? We do have certificates for all of you, and we'll press pause, 5 minutes, have the board go out and take pictures with all of our students. So first I have Vishnu Kata.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Caitlin Norsky.
Yep. Thank you.
Haley Reynolds. Maya Noel. You're welcome. So if we could all gather, go out real quick. Annie's on duty already. She's gonna stand by. We'll just take a photo. Thank you.
Bringing us kind of back together, moving on to our staff reports. We have Molly tonight, Molly Gruber. Thank you. Groupie.
Yes. Not me furiously Googling FBLA and DECA, by the way. Thanks for asking, because I was like, what's that? I'm so impressive. I feel like I was in Key Club in high school, and I don't even know what that means. So, bravo and brava. So thank you for having me. I'm Molly Groupie. I am an early childhood speech pathologist in the district, as well as the co-president of the Teachers Association and the political action chair. I always like to kick it off on a high note, so just some celebrations. I guess I would say first and foremost, just thank you, Katie, Judy, and Jack, for your service, for your dedication to this community and to our schools. We are so grateful for anyone who chooses to serve in an elected position. It is often a very challenging and thankless job, so thank you all very much for your service and best of luck with what is next. Congratulations also to Chris, Carly, and Heather, and I know that you are here tonight. Thank you for being here. We're really excited and looking forward to working with and collaborating with you in the term ahead. So thank you for running, and we can't wait to work with you more. We discussed at the last board meeting just gratitude for the arrangement for and the opportunity for virtual parent-teacher conferences, and I just want to report again, it was very much appreciated, I think very successful. Google Meet always has its challenges, despite how long we've been, doing things virtually for the past couple of years, but overall, just so much gratitude for the opportunity. I also want to say particular thanks to Tim Shell, but also just to our administration for the opportunity for a huge contingent of us to go to the MSAN conference last week at the Concourse Hotel downtown. This is, I think, not highly enough publicized in our district, what this organization is and the opportunities that it offers for students. The Multicultural Student Achievement Network. I think it's, mostly a high school in, area level opportunity, but it was an extremely, I thought, exciting conference to be a part of. The student panel was majorly impressive and enlightening, and I was so grateful to see so many representatives, school board, administration, teachers from all levels and disciplines, and it was, I think, and will continue to be very impactful for those who were there. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Then just in terms of, I want to, on behalf of the WTA, but also on a personal note, after the MSAN conference, hearing what students had to say about the anti-hate speech policy, the need for communication with our students on that note, but also to honor their, to seek out more actively and to really honor their investment in these things that we discussed, that you discuss as a board, and make sure that their voices are being heard and follow suit. So, they did say in the panel that, the 3 students that represented various populations of our district, high school students, they were all very adamant that the anti-hate speech policy be a separate policy. So I know you're voting on it tonight, you're going to discuss it, but I think knowing that the students, as well as educators and other community members might be invested in this, further tweaking, I know that there's opportunity for that even after the policy is voted on tonight. I just think that's a very important point to bring up. And it also, I think, not so much a concern, but an opportunity for the future. One of the things that we talked about in networking opportunities after the conference was the idea that we really should just have more students involved in different committees at different levels, just more present and able to share their voices and perspectives where decisions are being made in the district. I think engaging students and really working to do what suits them best sometimes gets left on the back burner because their voices aren't as prominent in our community and in these situations, in these contexts. So I would just leave you with that. And thank you for the work you do. We only have a couple more months left of this school year. So I think things are getting very hectic and busy, but we appreciate your support. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Gratitude for the communication, the swift communication about the insurance discussions and recommendations from that committee. I think everyone was really grateful for the opportunity to participate, but also just for the very clean and prompt engagement with our staff about what the committee recommendation was following those conversations. So thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity as always to speak tonight.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you for your comments and your ideas.
Thank you.
That's appreciated. Next is board reports. If anybody at the board level has done anything this month that you would like to share.
I did have an opportunity to attend the National MSAN conference that Molly just spoke of. So the highlight definitely was the student panel on the last day. Over half of the participating students were from the Waunakee Community School District, so I know they couldn't be here tonight, but if they're watching, thank you again for taking the time and having the courage to sit in front of well over 100 different adults, and most of whom were strangers, to share some of their experiences, good and bad, in navigating the space that they live in and talking about what can help their sense of belonging. So yes, several other good sessions. The last one that I had gone to that wasn't the student panel was mitigating bias in data, and I think that I was the only Waunakee person to attend that, so I think there are some actionable takeaways from that when we're talking about data and how to look at it and see standard deviation in a visual way and not use the data to create a negative bias towards outcomes just based on color. It was much deeper than we've all heard at one point or another, looking at data, correlation versus causation. Be careful not to assign causation to something that, may not have correlation. Anyway, it was much deeper than that, and definitely actionable things that we can do when looking at data, or how we can request data to be requested, presented to us, so that we don't form negative biases on that. And then the other two that I would say after that, that were also very good. There's creating affirming spaces to amplify student voice. We had the ability to break into small groups and talk about where some of that exists in our district today, and further places to take it from there. And then mental health for marginalized students was another good one. So again, I was trying to highlight the ones that had like little nuggets of actionable steps that we could take out of them. And then I look forward to seeing, Tim does a great job of pulling together all the information that is presented, because there are 5 different tracks running at exactly the same time, and you always wish you could duplicate, but we did have great representation from the administration, teachers, and board to be there. So hopefully we can pull it all together for the ones we couldn't personally attend. So.
Thank you for attending, Dawn. That's great. Anybody else attend anything that they'd like to share this month? Thank you. Next on the agenda is to look at a draft of a letter. I want to thank Mark and Annie for kind of collaborating and putting this together for us in honor of National School Staff Appreciation Week, that we would send to our staff. And we're just dropping a copy of it here to hopefully have everybody have read it, and your name will be on it, and I hope that you can agree to it, and we would send that out at that time. So if there's any concerns or comments or additions that you'd like to see. Mark,
Just want to
anything?
thank Ann for her work on this.
Yeah, Annie, and
She did the work.
she did it all this time? Because I know that you've been instrumental in the past, so honor to Annie this year. Anyway, I appreciate that, and thank you, Annie, for doing that. Okay, so move that forward, please. Next, we have our spring election results. We did have our Board of Canvassers do this a week ago today, and the results are that we have, and my thing isn't coming up, but I think I know the individuals. We have Christopher Sonny, who is here. I would like to welcome you to the board.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
And Carly Eaton is here, and I don't think Heather Murray was able to make it tonight, but thank you for running and congratulations, and we look forward to collaborating and onboarding a lot of information in the next month and getting you at the table.
Thanks,
So,
appreciate the opportunity, thank you so much.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Okay, moving on to our committee report, starting with Curriculum Committee. I don't think there's any action items, but do you, Mark, want to make any comments?
No, we really don't. What we did do at the meeting, we had our first review for textbooks and our first review for summer curriculum projects, and we'll be coming back in May with
Correct.
voting items.
And the minutes are there, and again, you're always welcome to watch the live production if you'd like. Moving on to Policy Committee.
We do have a number of items for action on this.
We do.
We had comments about the harassment policy, and I think we can look at that separately if we want to talk about that in any way whatsoever. I don't know if administration would like to present anything on this.
I'll just start by, as far as the harassment policy is concerned, is provide the community with information around how far we've come in this space. And thank you to the board members for steering us in the direction as it relates to where we have arrived today. We started back in November of last year. We were asked to embed the anti-hate speech policy inside of our harassment policy, of which we've had several iterations of that. In addition to that, we've also sought legal counsel to make sure we were moving in the right direction. So we've had eyes on the document in that space, and we'd like to bring it forward for an action item tonight. I do want to thank everybody who played a role in getting this to where we are today. Our parents, our students, our staff, our district administration, many individuals have had eyes on this particular policy. I can share with you that I've had a myriad of conversations with other superintendents in our area who have traveled this path and walked in this direction, and they feel like they're in a good place with what they have. And so seeking guidance at my level to ensure we're moving in the right direction was also another opportunity for me to seek guidance from some of our Dane County superintendents who had already traveled this road. So I feel like we're in a really good place with it. If there are any additional questions we can answer tonight, we'll be more than happy to. A great big shout out to Tim and Tiffany who walked this journey for quite some time. I will also share with you, Mark, at one of the meetings you made the request. We do know and understand there is a lot of language in the policy itself, and so we took you up on your offer to lay out specifically, if I'm the person, what do I do? You will note that it is in your folders. You can take a look at it. It is in draft form tonight in the event that you would like for us to change, revise, or edit. And from there, we think we're in a really good place to move that forward. So I don't know if you wanted to add anything, or if anybody wants to add anything. I just feel like we're in a really good place with it, and we're hopeful that we'll get it across the finish line. Including in your folder is also information for our teachers, so they also know and understand what their next steps will be in the space. So we worked on that as well. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I guess, one of the things, and we've talked about this, it's in regards to co-curricular. When you look at, sexual orientation, what do we define sexual orientation? And if that's transgender, then this policy goes against WIAA rules from the standpoint of competition. And I understand, there's different ways you can take a look at it, but that would be my, concern, as we move this forward. And I understand you've talked to legal counsel on it, but it's still a concern.
So in terms of what Jack is speaking in regards to is our WIAA took a stance on transgender students in regards to playing sports that are applicable to WIAA. And so what we know in our district is we will follow the WIAA rules in that regard. And legal counsel is sharing with us, given where we are in our climate today, from Jack's perspective, yes, there is a potential conflict there. But given where we are, that's what we're being exposed to in terms of what's coming down from the federal government as it relates to what's happening here at the state level. So our guidance was to follow the Seventh Circuit Court?
Yes.
To follow the Seventh Circuit Court in terms of the decision they have made around the harassment side, but we also have to follow the WIAA policy as well. So does it lend itself to conflicting information? Yes, it does. However, we will follow the WIAA when it comes to our sports, and we'll protect our kids in the space of harassment if any situations or concerns come our way.
And just to kind of add on to that, I mean, I think the key thing is that the conundrum is set up by the WIAA and the Seventh Circuit, and that predates the policy. The policy does nothing to increase the level of that conundrum for us. That's something all districts in Wisconsin are facing because of what Dr. Brown just described.
And I'll just add that our data shows that when it comes to bullying and harassment, that our LGBTQ population is one of the largest receivers of harassment from other students. And I think that protection is the key, I think, is the term that was used. And just like we have to protect every group from harassment.
And I'm not against protection. I'm just bringing up a point. You know, I'm not against it. But it just could potentially open, you know, a can of worms. You know, because as you indicated, we're going to follow the WIA rules, you know, for, you know, the transgenders per the rules can practice, but they can't compete. And what this policy is saying is that we can't really keep them from anything, you know. So, you know, that's the conundrum, I think, you know, as a board that we're facing.
So my understanding is that there isn't a conflict with the two. This is separate. So the WIA, we're going to follow that, and there's not a conflict with this policy. Is that correct?
If a student comes and says, hey, I feel like I'm being harassed, our legal obligation is to still protect the student and go through due process to make sure we're protecting our students. So.
And I support that.
Yes. And so that's our ultimate goal, is to be responsive to our children.
Okay, so any other questions for the administration? This has gone through policy with a 3-0 vote, and we need to bring it now to this larger group. Anybody ready to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the new harassment policy 411 and 411-1.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody who has worked on this. I know it's been a long, long time, and I appreciate it coming to the end.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other special ones, Ted, or?
Not unless you have any that come to mind. There's nothing that really stood out. There's a number of them on the docket that we're looking to repeal because they've already been taken care of in other policies that we've they're redundant in a sense, so.
Yeah, I did notice.
And you can see that in the spreadsheet.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendations of the policies stated.
Second.
Anybody have any other questions? All in favor of accepting the entire list, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Perfect, thank you. Does this bring the end to the policy revisions?
Closer, but no.
No. Well, we are looking forward to next month then.
But you're pretty close to starting over.
You're right. Why not?
All right, moving on to co-curricular.
So this month we had a co-curricular meeting. We have them 4 times a year, and Nick gave a report on all the success and achievement of our winter sports and participants, so it was really fun to celebrate all of their success. And we have 2 areas that we need to vote on tonight. So one is the branding expectations and the other is the handbook update, so I don't know what we want to do first.
I can start out, and let's start with the branding expectations. So I'll just give a brief overview of what I discussed last time we talked about our branding expectations. So we know that the board approved implementation of a process to go through what we wanted branding to look like for our school district. We partnered with Nathan Chow Foundry to work through this process. And again, that was May 10th, 2021, when that was approved. We've had several conversations as district level administrators and building level administrators, where appropriate, to discuss where we would like to move forward with fully implementing our branding expectations for the Waunakee Community School District. We believe this is of value for consistency and cohesion with our brand. We also involved our community, including a myriad of stakeholders who invested in this exercise to get us to where we are today. We know that school choice is a thing out here, and so we believe that it would allow for us to have a competitive advantage in terms of our brand. It enhances the district's ability to attract and retain staff and students, and then a polished and professional identity just strengthens our reputation as we continue to move forward. And finally, maximizing and capitalizing on the previous investments that took place 4 years ago to help us continue to move this work forward. I do have Annie and Nick with us today if you have any questions. We do have the branding guidelines posted to Board Book. If you would pay attention to the pages in the guidelines. Rebecca, if you want to we just want to go to the page where we specifically have the do's and the don'ts, so that our community knows and understands, one, that we have it. It's on page 20, starts on page 22, 23. For our do's and our don'ts. So we just wanted to be real clear on our do's and our don'ts, and we have a myriad of good uses of our brand as we continue to move forward. I know there was a question from board members around our co-curricular teams being in a good place as it relates to what they have in terms of uniforms. We have had that conversation. Nick feels as though the majority of our teams are in a good place. We may have a few exceptions, and our teams will know and understand as we move forward if there is a need for us to purchase some items make those smaller teams maybe, that we're open to that, and they would be able to reach out to Nick, and then we'll communicate with Steve in terms of what that would look like moving forward. But here we are 4 years later, and we think we're in a really good place with this, and we are considering this as an action item tonight, and would like to move forward with approval, pending any questions you might have.
I guess just a clarification. I guess one of the things that we want to do is make sure that all of the branding outward facing, meaning you're sitting on the sidelines or you're representing the school in a school sanctioned event, that would be branded.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit down and you take a look at, like the weight room, we've got logos on each one of the dumbbells that we've got in there, and some of the logos and so forth, like in the wrestling room. Are we expecting to change those as well? Because that's going to be a lot of money to do that. And I think the other thing too is, from a coaching standpoint, some of these guys have, the overcoats, for cold weather. And, I don't know if we're planning on buying those, for these coaches, but we've got them. And, some of those coats, to be warm are a couple hundred bucks. And if we're expecting our coaches, to buy those, they don't make a lot of money, from the coaching standpoint to begin with, for the amount of time that they put into it. So I guess, like to get some direction, from the board on that, and get some thoughts.
It was the same comment. I think when we had a meeting on it, ironically, I was wearing an older item that had, an older logo on there. And I see in here, like in your official capacity, as teaching your official capacity, you are not able to wear old clothes.
that have an old logo on
When
them?
we're,
100%.
when we're on, so the idea is when we are on company time and we're doing rendering duties of our, whether you're a teacher or coach, that you would wear our new brand.
And I guess in that discussion, maybe I misheard, I heard when we're representing ourselves too, like if we're in a competition or something like that, obviously the coaches all have to be on board with that, and they couldn't be wearing that. I guess inwardly, somewhat to that point, I have, personally, that's where, the kids are at school, you bought all that stuff, I'm not gonna go out and retool and get all of my.
Feedback from the kids who said that they would like to see cohesive branding and like to see some of the old icons and imagery done away with.
I bet not everyone.
That's probably not everyone, but
I bet
if
there's
you have
probably
a
more
large
that want to
enough-
have the old stuff. I think of the same thing with sports teams. I think of the Brewers. I love the old Brewers one. Remember the great, that came back and you're able to wear those things. I'm not saying that we're gonna go out and buy new stuff, or that they should have the ability to at least continue to wear that. That's still good. I guess I'm not quite getting that.
I think in terms of priorities, it makes sense that if we have spaces that are due for construction, that we're looking to potentially, as part of those plans, demo them, that they may be a lower priority because they're going to be redone spaces regardless. But yeah, no, we did hear in student panels that it's important to our students and their sense of belonging that we evolve to the new branding.
I get that with facilities, what we're overly showing that way. Apparel that you have how many kids go through, you get all the stuff, which I did, and now, like, does that mean I can't come to a board meeting with that on?
But
That's
are we-
sort of what
New
we're
logo
saying.
started being used 4 years ago?
But are we,
what I'm
are we
saying
talking
is-
about just a different shape of the W, or are we talking about a spear through Waunakee?
It's anything that isn't what's shown there. So
But I,
it
but
could
I,
be,
but I think what somebody is saying is that some of those logos are offensive to people. And so, and we're not gonna use those anymore. So how, is there a difference there? The ones that have a spear or some of the other ones that felt like they were denigrating
so now
somebody
you're
else?
getting into offensiveness.
Well, not, the spear was a model that was difficult for people to,
Well, let's take the spear off of it. There's plenty of other things.
no, but
There's
that's
plenty
what
of
I'm
other
saying. If you take
apparel.
the spear off, you're willing to take the spear off. But if my jacket has a spear on it and I've had it for 5 years, why can't I wear that?
Yeah, I'm
And
saying
see,
absolutely.
but I don't think you should. I think if we're trying to clean up our branding, and we did this on purpose, one of the goals was to take some of the things that were offensive to people.
I think we wanted a cohesive, what it's being stated. That's what we're doing as a district. We're putting a lot of money into doing all of it. But as a person that has purchased and has absolutely,
You just wear the clothes because they're warm and you wear them.
well, of course, I came,
Yeah.
like I said, it's like, oh, I didn't know I was breaking policy now because I had the wrong.
But I think the other thing that
Wow.
goes along with this, though, is when you look at a coach, they're not making that much money. And we're saying that that winter coat that you bought 5 years ago, and you don't wear those things out, are we willing, as a board, to say, okay, to the coaches, upgrade that to the new logo? It just, those things are a couple $100.
I think there just needs to be some clarity about, so I'm seeing all of those, it's not just the spear, there's the banner W. So, I mean, a lot of people have, so if you wear the banner W to school, that is not going, as a teacher or a coach, that's not acceptable, is that my understanding? So
Around
it's
company time.
all of our logos are not, because Dawn's saying something different, like you're talking about the spear, I think, in particular, but I think what Dr. Brown is saying is that this is about all of our logos, and we had 15 of them. And I think, yeah, and so I think there's going to be questions about that, you know, like, and we kind of talked about that too, and I think rightfully so, you know?
Yeah.
Good
So-
question.
Mark?
I can support the policy and the guideline, but I do think there are different levels to consider. So one, I can remember working with Earl Gotsky, and he wore a 40-year-old Toma jacket to the day he retired. He never bought a new coat. And so, is that something we maybe consider? I think there's a big difference, particularly with our lower revenue sports, where the coaching staff does in fact buy their own clothes versus getting them from the booster groups, versus coaches who are provided gear through their booster organizations. To ask a cross-country coach to get $400 worth of new equipment, and another coach may not have to because the new equipment is provided for them, they're on equal playing grounds.
Well,
And I don't know how we address that.
I think
We
that
included the coaches as part of the conversation in terms of a phase-in approach to help us understand what they have and what they need and be supportive to our coaches as well.
I think it's important too to be consistent, because just consistent across. If we're gonna help, you know, the cross-country coaches or team or whoever buy stuff, I think we should help. Because it's the booster, it's the kids and the
boosters.
families that are paying for it then, you
Right,
know?
it all comes
So-
out of donations.
Right, so I just think we just need to be consistent with that, and it would be great to see what that plan looks like, you know, how we're gonna phase that in, and I'm sure it's not all in the budget, there's soccer coats that have the old logo on it,
Right.
there's the, you know, so, and I support this too, it's well-intended, I get it, I just think it's just good to have a plan about how we're gonna consistently enforce it, and just to bring clarity for staff, so they're not afraid or worried about, because I don't think that's the point either, you know, I don't think so. But.
And there's a big difference between being a college program where your sponsor is buying all your clothing. Then it's easy to say everyone's got to do this thing. I mean, if you're working for Honda, they may enter a contract with Under Armour, and they're all wearing red Under Armour shirts. We got to wear it. Well, Under Armour's giving them the shirts. They're not buying them out of their own pockets in most cases. So I do think for the coaching staff, there might be some consideration. We have given them 4 years. And so, you know, I think that might be something to consider. I like the piece where, you know, the team sports, new equipment is bought with a new guideline.
And I think it has been for the last, I mean, I think we have been doing a good job.
I think we have been doing that.
Yeah.
It's just there's some apparel, and it comes, you know, I've got the old cross-country coat for winter, and I'm a volunteer. And that's, like I say, $250.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we have volunteer coaches. How do we support those volunteer coaches? I think you just have to, you know, come up with, you know, some type of equitable plan, like you say, Ted says, and, you know, as we're replacing, you know, the weight room or, you know, some of the other things in our practice facilities, you know, that's when you make the choice to make these changes. When we brought this policy on, we said, hey, we're gonna use stuff up. And then once we use stuff up, then we'd go to the new policy. And I think, you know, we've used up, you know, the stationery and, you know, all of that other stuff that, you know, we're using on a regular basis.
So, you know, those are just my 2 cents.
I kind of have to agree that I guess I would like to see that when a coach is coaching, they wear the logo. When they're out there in front with their team, they wear the logo. But, you know, clothing is just not inexpensive, and they gotta go to work, you know, 188 days a year, and I just think that they should be allowed to wear their clothing that they have purchased.
Well, and some of this stuff is pretty durable, so it's.
It's durable and
You know,
it's
like that,
expensive.
like the pullover that I'm talking about, I might use that twice per season.
Yeah.
You know, you don't wear that thing out, maybe 3 times. Global warming, we may not need it.
You know, and they have had time, but.
I've had 4 years. I think
So
that
I've
it
had-
shouldn't go on
I've
indefinitely.
had 4 kids go through. I will not be purchasing clothing probably when the kids are done. I don't go to the events, and so that's what I have. I'm an employee because I'm on the school board. There's gotta be a lot of other parents, teachers, that are in the same situation.
Right.
Maybe some of it is superstitious. Some of that, I mean, I definitely know that's the case with some coaches. It's like, I'm wearing this because it's the way it is. And so to say, I'm gonna rule that out because I can't go along with that. There's just no way. I would not be a supporter of that anyway. So,
I've worked places with dress codes, and dress codes change, and branding is a part of the dress code. And that this is, to me, no different.
Let's take a vote. Okay, so, if we, are we voting on, so you've drafted a letter to the staff saying you want it to turn a page and be 100%.
Is this aspirational or policy?
We'd like to, given that it's 4 years later, we would like to get your, or the action item is getting your approval to move forward with, when we're on company time, we will wear the brand, our branding expectations are this. When you're off company time, not working with students, not coaching, not teaching, you're at the grocery store, you're at the pig, that's on you or us as individuals to continue to wear what we so choose.
So if they go to an evening athletic event, but they are a teacher, are they expected, is that their time or your time?
If they're supporting children, if I'm supervising children, that's our time. If I'm just showing up
Then
to be
it.
So
supported,
basically, if you're
that's
getting
their
paid.
time.
If you're
Pretty
getting
much.
paid.
That's
Then you're on
what's
company time, and, you know, I understand the
we have a
branding.
lot of volunteers that represent kids too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what if you
Getting paid
started
for
with just the,
volunteering, and I'm representing the district, so I can't have it on any.
what if you just applying this to the paid representatives?
Paid staff.
Mhm.
You know, if you're a volunteer. So what you're saying is if you're a volunteer,
You're gonna wear your clothes out.
you're gonna wear your clothes out.
But if you're getting paid, you're buying into the logo, the school, I mean, the upgrade.
Right.
Yes?
It is kind of the person that drafts handbooks and then also ultimately supports supervisors as they're making sure we're following the handbooks. Creating different expectations for employees that have been approved by the board for a board-approved position is problematic. We have, while there is a tremendous differentiator with a volunteer and a paid person, right? One's receiving financial, financial stuff from the district, one is not. the expectations that we have for their behavior, for their performance, they are the same. And if now we're gonna split the differentiate between what we would expect of them in terms of this particular issue, that creates a challenge, and frankly, it's confusing. You know, the public, when they look, and actually I would even submit that most of the students that work with these staff members don't know the difference between if somebody's paid or not paid. They know them as their coach, they know them as their advisor. It would be challenging. And so I would really encourage the board to make sure it remains consistent for all employees, whichever direction you go, but consistency is very important in all employment matters.
So when you say employees, you're not talking volunteers?
Volunteer, someone that's approved by the board is considered an
Okay.
employee of the district.
All right, and we approve those too, don't we?
You do?
Yeah.
Yep.
What about the ticket takers?
They're paid. They're on the clock while they're doing that work.
So if I'm a coach, I don't have to wear it. I could wear a private jacket that's not emblematic of an older style jacket that we have.
Are they required to wear
Correct.
logos, period?
We do not have a dress code that requires staff to wear particular types of clothing in any realm of their employment. So, yes, they could wear whatever they want, and no, they don't have to wear it alone, per se.
Put some
Yeah,
duct
I'm
tape
sorry I
over the
didn't
top.
hear,
Yeah.
but if I'm a teacher going to a Friday night football game, I'm assuming they're going as a private citizen, not as representative of the
Correct.
district.
That's correct.
Versus I'm taking a group of students as the head of FBLA, private, public. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Brian.
I suggest we approve this logos for all employees.
I'll second.
I would like to do a roll call on it.
I just want to make a comment that I think that it makes sense. It's been 4 years, and to have consistency, I think that makes sense. But I think there needs to be a little more clarity on the plan for some big items, or for, I just think that there's some staff members perhaps that might have some questions about what's the consequence, like, you know, how are we gonna enforce this? I mean, what if I wear the banner W? What if the JV soccer team has the jacket with the old logo on it? What is that? What's the plan to transition those things? And I think there is a plan, I think it just be, what does that look like?
But what is on the table right now is a clean break.
Okay.
Okay, that's what we're voting on, is a clean break. That is the motion. So I would like to do it by roll call, yes or no. Katie?
No.
Judy?
Yes.
Me? No. Ted?
No.
Jack?
No.
Dawn?
Yes.
Mark?
No.
So it's 2 to 5. Thank you.
So what I'm hearing in some of this discussion is the sphere is bothersome to certain people, right? Some of those logos up there don't have the spear on.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know how much clothing is out there that has the spear. But is that something that we would consider to say, okay, we don't want the spear represented? You know, I don't know. Just,
Well, we've spent time and money, we had community groups supporting the designs we have. So my negative vote was not in opposition to the designs we have. And I don't want to revisit and say, well, can we modify to bring in somebody else's symbolism? But if we could have a little bit clearer pathway to
Path
get
of
from here to there.
transition, because
And take into consideration some of the concerns that were brought up tonight.
Right, the financial burden that would put on staff. And I just think there needs to be consideration, as Katie said, of transition. And I am, 4 years, I'll wear my clothes 10 years. I mean, clothing is expensive, and if you have that attire with, I mean, I don't even see the logo. I just like the fit of the shirt, you know, and it's, I think we need more of a transition. And as Katie said, what happens if you do or you don't?
It would be the same as any manager addressing that their employee
We've had
hasn't followed policy. It's no different.
the progressive measures. We've talked about that as a team. In terms of any other instance where we need to have conversations with staff around, you have a verbal conversation, and then we can follow our, whatever our progressive measure as it relates to speaking with our staff when we're not in compliance with what we're being asked to do.
I'll still go back to Jack's point, it's when we're representing it to the competition or to the outside world, I totally agree with. If I'm in a classroom, I'm still, this is a Waunakee history. Let's put it that way, it's history. I like wearing old Wisconsin stuff, prior to the motion W, it's, and I, even if I was, I think that's part of it.
Yeah, and I love the brand, I love what we've done with it, and I think we should continue to push it out and transition everything that we buy with that brand. But I do think that individually, people who own things should be allowed to wear them.
They also have the option of not wearing union stuff. I mean, it's not like they don't have other clothing. They're not being, it would be different to me if they were required to wear logoed clothing
I understand.
all the time and then had to have the expense to continue to come to work in logoed clothing and different clothing. But they can wear a different coat. They can wear a different shirt.
Yeah, I understand. Brian, did you come up to speak again?
Well, I heard some number of comments about progressive discipline, so I didn't know if there was a question related to that, so I just came up because.
Needed a little water.
Yeah, like to keep the steps up, that's all.
And really, nothing against the brand. I don't think anybody here at the table has anything against the brand. It's just, you know.
Are there any other employee groups aside from facilities who get clothing allowances, like annual clothing allowances? So like I would get a steel toe boot and safety glasses allowance. Facility gets it because of the specific work that they're doing outside.
That's a good question. I don't do.
No.
Okay.
We don't have any clothing allowance, do we?
For the custodial maintenance, we do have a clothing allowance annually for either actual clothing or if they don't need clothing, safety-related items to their position.
We just talked about for crossing guard and stuff.
Yeah, that we provide, we don't actually, we provide them that gear, I guess would be that more accurate way to say it.
There's no case where the Booster Club is buying unapproved clothing, new stuff. Nobody's doing that.
I don't think the booster clubs are doing that.
No.
And they shouldn't be.
You know,
No, so,
They're
I mean,
saying
that's a
you're
big
doing it?
step, so anything that they're involved in,
right.
they're going in that direction.
But you can go down to the hometown news and they still have the Waunakee clothing there with the spear.
So just to answer the apparel question, so a team's turn in the uniform rotation every 4 years are school apparel dollars. So anything that's purchased with that does get vetted through the athletic office and art-proofed and all that stuff. Where we do see the, I don't want to say miscommunication, misunderstanding, is when you do have turnover in boosters, despite it being codified in the Booster Club handbook for apparel and branding guidelines, there is still I don't want to say misinformation, but not aligning clothing that does occur through there. And it's stuff that never ultimately goes through this office first. It's somebody didn't read it, somebody, a vendor had an old file and they thought, well, this is okay. Some grab it off Google. So there is some of that happens. Part of the branding or the policy language that was in there was for myself to approve anything, whether it's Booster Club or school-related funds, to go through kind of our office first. I don't think that was the case 4 years ago when the policy came into effect. It was kind of thought that everybody would just follow it. So I said, that's fine, I'd rather have it go through our office and make sure it's following those rules. We have stuff that's bought a ton of times, fan shirts, it's not just coaching gear, it's not just uniforms, it's spirit packs, it's just, I mean, thousands of items per year that are purchased by each group and each club, so I certainly don't have a problem, and I would welcome it. It's much easier to enforce it that way than going back and when somebody already has 100 shirts made or something printed, to try to go back and, all right, well, what are we gonna do now? And try to collect all of it. It's just, it's not on school grounds always, it's not in our possession.
So that's one positive way of doing it.
I think it
Have
helps,
it come
yeah.
through you, yeah, instead of taking it away.
In your coaches, or in your meetings, I'm assuming that you're addressing the branding up front when you're meeting with the teams and booster clubs and things like that, and, you know, they've got the link, this is what's gotta happen.
Okay, moving on to the handbook updates. Nick?
So the first one was the Booster Club handbook. As I shared at the co-curricular committee, there was nothing big for an update in there. It was just simply going in and tweaking people's last names that were incorrect or old last names, aligning the dates for the 2 meetings in July and then in February of each year. And then also just continuing to try to compact it a little bit more, so hopefully there isn't that temptation to go, well, it's 38 pages. Maybe I will just glance through it and try to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So we're heading into year 3 of that handbook being in existence. So again, just trying to tweak ways for that to be more user-friendly, because like I just said, there's so much turnover in booster clubs that those are the kind of the point of the 2 meetings that we hold each year to go over some of these high-interest items or things that we're seeing that aren't necessarily always being followed to a T, or things that we're noticing that's kind of being lost that exists in the Booster Club handbook. So that's really it for the Booster Club handbook. For the coaches handbook, sent out a couple messages to coaches. Any coach had a chance to be a part of that process of reviewing the coaches handbook, and then looking at some other area school district coaches handbooks as well. Betsy Zadra of Boys Golf took me up on that offer, and we ended up reviewing the coaches handbook. What we ultimately found out was there was a ton of duplicate information in there. I mean, it was just like the same 4 or 5 things said a little bit differently. And it almost looked like it was copy and pasted or grabbed off of like just motivational sites. Like it just didn't really fit in a handbook per se. One of the things that we did add was on page 13, just clarifying that roster selection policy. So the face-to-face cuts, it existed in board policy before, but it was not in the coach's handbook. So we made sure to add that as a bullet point, including the middle school no-cut policy and then high school roster selection for coaches. The media relations, got in touch with the Tribune. They've had a little bit of turnover here in the last year, so just making sure that the deadlines that were originally in there for coaches to share updates and interviews and scores was accurate. It was. We moved any Booster Club related items to the Booster Club handbook. Some stuff was left in there in terms of it does have crossover appeal to a coach, but there was, again, a lot of information that doesn't necessarily apply to a coach sitting in the coach's handbook. And then we updated the Warrior Media social links, just the new addresses for Instagram, updated Twitter to X, and all those things, just to kind of clean it up a little bit. And then obviously the branding language was placed in there as well. So really not many changes, just trying to clarify things a little bit more, and bring some of the items that have a lot of interest to a lot of people to the forefront versus kind of burying it in a policy site.
So we'll need to delete the branding information.
Make the motion to approve the Booster Club and coaches handbooks as presented.
Second.
Any questions on any of the changes or content?
I know we'll take a vote here, but I guess the comment would be perhaps delaying the approval of the handbook handbooks until we have clarity on the roller policy. If that were to move forward with having some kind of cadence or phase out added to the policy in the work between now and our next board meeting, then that can be incorporated into the handbooks. And then we would have to take the handbooks back again.
I do still have the co-curricular handbook to bring forward at the next co-curricular meeting, so it could all be approved at that time as well.
And for your timeline,
It would be beginning of June for that
so
June
you're
board
okay
meeting.
with that? So unfortunately, there is a motion on the
Yeah,
table.
and I have to vote first.
So we do need to vote, or do you want to make an amendment to that motion, Dawn?
Oh, well, I'm not sure if it's an amendment to say let's wait until to give it another cycle and bring it back to the next meeting, if that's an amendment?
You could
or
move
if that
it-
would be
move to
vote
table.
no and then,
You could table
move
it.
to table it.
okay,
Would be-
then, yeah, I would move to table it.
And I need a second on that.
Second.
So we're going to vote on the tabling first. All in favor of tabling the handbooks until next month, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, so we'll just bring that back next month. Thank you. Is there anything else? Nick, I want to thank you for the update that you put in. If anybody else hasn't taken time to look at the whole co-curricular meeting, wonderful tribute to our student athletes and the successes they've had both in the arena of their sport, but also academically. Really well done. I appreciate all your, the information that you've shared. All right, so I think we are done with co-curricular. Moving on to facilities, I believe. And I think I'll just hand this over to Steve, if you don't mind.
I don't mind, thank you, Joan. So there are 3 action items tonight for consideration for the board. The first one is approval of capital maintenance projects. Before we talk about the projects, I just want to share that at the committee meeting, we did talk through the overall finances for the capital maintenance projects. If you're interested in the committee agenda for the facility committee, there is the maintenance tracking spreadsheet that we've used with the facility committee on a monthly basis. That spreadsheet was updated to reflect the most recent version of funds availability. These are funds that have been tracked since the beginning of the referendum, so a good example of that would be interest earnings. So Ally and I did update interest earnings, it's just one example. But I wanted to share with you before we talk about the projects that the finances related to capital maintenance projects were all updated at the last facility committee meeting. With that being said, we then presented a wide range of capital maintenance projects to the committee. What you see in the board book this evening was the committee's recommendation. I do want to point out that the committee did revise the list that was presented in a couple of ways, so I will point that out. So the first thing is the committee pulled, so we did have a line item on the capital maintenance projects at the committee meeting towards capital maintenance projects around the branding effort. The committee did pull that and asked for a more detailed review at the next meeting. So just know that that is no longer on the list. The intent behind that was to get some additional time to take a look at that closer. A second item that has been pulled off the list, which is the one action item under the budget committee, is the investment in technology for the transportation fleet. That is not associated with this recommendation, and we'll talk under the budget committee recommendation what that looks like. And then the third item was Prairie Elementary School had a project approved last month. We did find out that there were some errors in the quoting process. And as a result of that, the committee asked for a more thorough review, so looking at a range of options for that school. So those modifications were made at the facility committee level. The facility committee then voted on a 3-0 basis to move the list that you see in front of you tonight forward for consideration. There's a lot there. If you look at, Rebecca, could you open that back up for a minute? Just go to the summary page. So what we're asking for approval on tonight is what we are calling priority 1 projects. So the column that references priority 1, that totals up to $1,291,000 is being presented tonight from the facility committee. There's detailed lists for each of the schools or departments that go along with that. This reflects 3 months worth of work that has taken place at the committee level. So we've been working on this for a few months now. And what you see in front of you is the revised recommended approval from the board's facility committee. We'd be happy to answer any questions that any board members have. If you have a question about any particular school, we can ask Rebecca to scroll through and take a look at it. But basically, this is the recommendation of the committee for your consideration tonight.
Make the recommendation to approve priority 1 projects as presented.
No, go ahead.
Any questions? So just to clarify, Steve, is the safety items included in priority 1? That's part of that list, because we are doing the safety items. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the second action item is a booster club donation. So by school board policy, whenever there is a donation that involves a facility-related improvement, it does need to come before the board for approval. What you see in front of you for this agenda item is there's a request from softball boosters for a softball scoreboard donation and project. You can see on the attachment what it is they're looking to do. Nick was at the meeting to review this with the facility committee. The facility committee did recommend approving what you see, thank you, Rebecca, on the screen on a 3-0 motion. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And again, I want to thank the softball board for that donation, making it more consistent and, the upgrade there.
I didn't see the donation price on that anywhere, did I?
I don't recall.
I don't think they
I
gave
don't think
it
they
to
had it in
us.
there.
So they're just doing,
They're just doing it. And the last item was the Heritage parking lot, which we've decided we are not recommending, but again, if you want to review that in the actual meeting, I don't know if you want to say any more about that, Steve.
Yeah, what I'll just state is, as board members, you probably recall several months ago, you did approve a proposal for Roxanne Johnson, who's a civil engineer based in Waunakee, to evaluate the Heritage Intermediate traffic flow. One of the concerns that has come up is we did have an accident that took place on the property this past fall. Roxanne was evaluating that, as well as whether or not there was the possibility of constructing an additional exit and entry point to the property. We did go through a very comprehensive review and found that an additional exit or entry to the property would only make the traffic concerns on Woodland enhanced, and it would not actually improve the traffic flow in that part of the community. As a result, one of the principals of that property did ask Roxanne to consider an alternative approach, which was additional parking on the property. So we did present to the facility committee a blueprint that just showed what that additional parking would look like, as well as a quote. But I also want to note that in the northwest corner of the property was the location where there was the accident between the vehicle and a student on the bike.
Can we pull that up?
Sure, we could pull that up. Thank you, Rebecca. So in the upper left-hand corner, you do see where it says close off the left turn. And as board members, you may recall, we did have a parent pull in, take a very fast left in a location that was not intended for traffic to go left. And we did have a student riding their bike along the bike path. We did have a collision that occurred there. The committee is recommending approving the curbing project that you would see in that northwest corner of the property. That curbing project would eliminate that one safety issue that occurred this past year. So while the parking project, which you can see in the other orange boxes, was not advanced for consideration this evening, the committee was supportive of the district moving ahead and curbing off that upper left section so that we could avoid another one of those, safety issues that occurred this year.
I think one of the things that came up as the principals were looking at this, they indicated the 96 parking spots would be beneficial if there's big events and things like that, concerts. And, after we discussed it from a facility standpoint, there is parking behind, the buildings, which is currently being utilized as parking lot. So day traffic going in and out, teachers, parents, things like that, without the 96 parking spots is adequate. So, what we were thinking is instead of spending, another $500,000, $600,000 on expanding the parking lot and changing, the pond, utilize the parking that's currently available.
Motion to approve the recommendation from the committee, just to do the curb.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you. Moving on to the Budget Committee.
Steve, I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. So there's one action item for consideration this evening. The committee, the Budget Committee has looked at this topic as well for the last 3 months, and the topic is technology upgrades to our transportation fleet. One of the things that Dr. Brown noticed upon her arrival is that there were some technologies that she had available in her previous district that we had yet to implement here. So she prompted the discussion this fall. Allie and myself had met with Lamers multiple times to review the opportunities to improve our technology in a couple of different ways on our transportation fleet. At the Budget Committee level, the committee looked at, first of all, an option that was presented from Lamers for the district purchasing all of that technology and owning it, which would have meant that when the Lamers contract expires in 2 years, all of that property belongs to the district. And there was another option that was presented at the most recent Budget Committee where Lamers would purchase all of that technology, would own it, and would then have a slight upcharge depending on which form of technology we were interested in on the bus routes for the remaining 2 years of the contract. And just as a reminder for all board members, the board extended the transportation contract for Lamers through the year in which the middle school opens. That was done to provide consistency for the community as we were going through our construction projects. The board will be able to weigh in at the year that the middle school opens about an RFP process and looking at that for transportation. Lamers does understand that if they made that commitment on their end, that does not extend the contract. That would be a separate decision made by the board. The budget committee took a look at this topic, and the recommendation was to offer a tracking app for parents next year. That tracking app would not be individualized for each student, meaning it wouldn't go to the level of having student badges and students badging on and off the bus, but it would allow parents to be able to see through GPS tracking that bus route as it was taking place. That would be an app paid for by the district, so we would own that technology. The second component is a security camera upgrade. The recommendation from the committee is to have Lamers make that capital investment, not the district. So then that fee would be added to the daily bus route. One of the things that we did talk about at the committee level is that in the last month, the business office has canceled one of our programs that we use. That's about an $18,000 program called Zoom. So we're no longer using Zoom at the district level, and we talked about how we could reallocate the funds that were being spent on Zoom towards transportation. It would cover the tracking app, and it would also cover some of the costs, but not all of the security camera upgrades. And Ally and I also would then like to engage in some conversations about the possibility of looking at some other efficiencies in the transportation space. We'll hold that for another meeting, but the bottom line is the recommendation from the committee. The district purchased the tracking app for our families and asking Lamers to invest in the upgraded security cameras with the additional fee per route for the remainder of the contract, which is the next 2 years.
Any questions for Steve? If not, I would like a motion for this.
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. So that brings us to administrative recommendations, starting with our employee benefit plan. I think there has been a recommendation made, and Brian will update us.
So this is, what's attached in the board book here is a reflection of the work of the district's insurance committee, which has been, as you know, reviewing this school year. It came down to a decision between our two options, remaining with Dean or switching to GHC. And as the committee reviewed the information, we also asked staff, as the WTA mentioned, to provide their feedback. Shared that information in the results of the presentation that's linked. Staff were really 4-1 in favor of remaining with Dean, recognizing that was going to increase their monthly contribution costs. And so with that, receiving that feedback, and then also receiving feedback in particular from those that have familiarity with the high deductible HSA plan, we are recommending, the insurance committee is recommending that the district moves in 26, or excuse me, doesn't move, but stays with Dean in 25, 26, 27, 26, 27, and 27, 28 as our healthcare insurance provider. And then I did make mention that we all offer other types of insurance, but those rates are not changing, and so there is really no action necessary in those areas by the board. So I guess I could take any questions that members may have.
What is the price differential to the district between GHC and Dean?
To the district, it's an increase. The district is paying a 5% increase to either. The difference, the Dean renewal is.
Is it equal?
It
Is the
is.
district paying the same for Dean or?
Correct, yes.
GHC, that's
Yes,
the question.
that is true. The district is paying the same. Employees will pay more to stay with Dean.
Okay, any questions on this recommendation? If not, we need a motion to approve this.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you, Brian, for all that work. It's a hard job to keep that all running. And moving on, we have an update on our 4K program. Yay!
Like I said, I know everyone's used to these late nights, but I'm like in bed by now. So.
Sorry.
Hi, everyone. Do I have a clicker?
Yes.
Thanks, Steve.
And Miranda, because this is a PDF, you're going to need to use the mouse.
Okay. Hi, so for those that don't know me, I'm Miranda Moe. I'm the 4K director for Waunakee Schools, and then I'm also the AP over at Arboretum. So thanks for, oh, that didn't work.
It's this one right here.
So I know I was just here last year, but,
I'm going to fix this just a little bit.
you can just, that's okay.
I can just do it.
You just do it for me. So just a reminder, we have Mackenzie Lutz, our social worker, and Noel, who's actually on maternity leave. So we've had the great pleasure of having Mr. Kurt Ely filling in for us for the remainder of the year. So that is our staff. There is our most recent picture of our amazing 13 teachers who, as you know, make 4K what it is.
Now, they're located in all your different settings, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So here's our settings. So next year we are going to have a little change, but we're sticking with our same centers. Mary Lake is going down to one site in the morning only because Kathy is going to be stepping back and letting some other people, those who know Kathy Lang, continue to run Mary Lake. So they are going to cut down just to one morning session. The village worked with me this year and went to 2 a.m.s just for our placement needs. We had more people this year that wanted that morning, so we're not sure what they'll do next year. And just a reminder, the village is now branded to the village instead of LEAP. And they've officially moved everything over to the village. Other than that, everyone else will be staying the same. So you can go on. Some big things with our curriculum is we continue to do Haggerty for our phonics. Second step, we are adopting a newer version of creative curriculum that will go through once July 1st hits for next year. It'll be the same thing, it just has a little more exploratory units and some updates. So the 4K staff did a pilot this past year and they all unanimously wanted to go forward with that. So we're excited to kind of have some new kits, and what our teachers do is they can check out these kits, and it's like, you know, we're doing an instrument one, so it has different materials and different ways to learn through play and exploration. So they're pretty excited to have some new things for next year. So for professional development, each year I survey teachers and directors and just kind of find out what they want, what they need, and then that's part of my job to create that PD or find people if I am not an expert or able to give them that PD. A big one this year was our Ames Web, so that's the required Act 20 testing for 4K. We only had to do it this spring, and then next year we'll do it fall and spring. So they actually just finished that up on Friday of last week. And again, our 4K team rocked it. Rick helped us get some computers to them because they don't have devices and they need a computer to do this testing. So he did great by getting us some Chromebooks out to the teachers, and while still trying to run a class, they were able to get all that testing done, and the reports go home Wednesday to families. So we'll see what they think about that. Go back, sorry. So PD really focused around behavior. That has been, as you guys know, across the district, just really showing more in our younger kids. So we focused around behavior this year. We had Adam Hausner, he came in and did some NVCI training. And what we really looked at is that de-escalation strategy, not doing holds or anything like that, but how do you just de-escalate a behavior when it comes, and gave them some training on that. We worked with just identifying and understanding the challenging behaviors of a 4-year-old, and how that's looked different over the years and just different things we can do. And one thing I know they really appreciate is having that chance to talk to their other 4K teachers, and having that time to discuss things they're seeing, what are you doing, and just really using each other as that soundboard, because they don't get a lot of time together, being in all the different sites. Just implementing inclusive practices with another PD we brought in from the 4Cs group, and then how to apply those positive behavior techniques. 3 years ago, we started having them come to the all-district welcome back. And that's, again, been one of the top things in our end-of-the-year survey. They feel valued, they feel a part of the school district, even though they're not one of our employees, and they really appreciate getting a t-shirt. It was probably their biggest excitement that they got the t-shirt. And then actually starting today, they're in the middle of their ECHRs, which is, again, we hire out 4Cs to come in and do the evaluation process of each center. And that's all this week and all next week. And then they get a chance to meet with their evaluators and just talk about things they can change. With ECHRs, some things you can't change. Like if it's raining and you don't get outside, you can get docked for that. So we really talk about what can we change and what can't we control. So they're all in the midst of that right now, and that's something that keeps them anxious even though they've been through it. So they're excited to have that almost done. Now you, thank you, Rebecca. So our numbers are continuing to stay right about the same. We are sitting at 213 right now. So with our open enrollment, the board passed the 31. We always have, late people coming in. Registration's been open since January, so we continue to have some pretty good numbers ready to do placement in the next couple of weeks. So just, again, another big philosophy of mine is how do we get families engaged, especially, right, this is their first experience with our school district, so how do we help them feel that engagement and that belonging, especially being at all the different centers. So we had family literacy night. One big thing that I really try to do is working with the high schoolers and trying to give them some of that leadership. So family art night was actually put on by Ariel Hurst, and she completed the whole thing and then brought it to the FFCA as part of her competition. So she organized the whole event, came up with all the activities, sent me the purchases that she needed for it, and then did all the volunteers and then ran that night. So that was pretty neat to kind of sit back and just watch our high schoolers take a leadership role. I do work with like National Honor Society, our future educators. Anytime I need anything, we have an abundance of people that want to show up, and it's just great to see. We had family science night. We did David Landau concert. That's a great time if you ever want to come. Family math night, and then you all should have your invite to the end of the year celebration, which if you came last year, it is 300 plus children and families running around the library yard, eating Kona ice, and
it's fun.
Yeah, it's a really good time.
When
And
is that? What's the date?
May 3rd or May 29th, Thursday, May 29th. You RSVP'd, yes, Jack, so it should be on your calendar.
It's on my calendar, I'll be there.
Yeah, great. And then we continue just to try to support parents by having in January before registration opens, having that big orientation meeting, which again, we get it about anywhere between 75 to 100 families that come in, walking them through the process, letting them ask any questions they have, especially if it's their first child going through the district. That's it. What questions do you guys have for me?
I'm just checking my calendar.
What, Ted?
Thanks for saying it's fine.
Yeah.
Good job.
I said I have to figure out who I need to know to get on the beginning of the. But again, thank you for supporting 4K. Like I said, it's the beginning of people's, and we want it to be as supportive and get that sense of belonging right away. So we appreciate everything you guys do for us.
I want to thank you for the presentation, getting the high elevation view of, getting a sense of the training that is going on throughout the year, what have you. It speaks highly about what you're doing, and I'm sure it's a great benefit for not only the teachers, but the kids that are going into it, so thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's also helping our retention. We've had very few turnovers in the last just couple of years, trying to, again, give them that sense of belonging and really make them feel valued and kind of give them what they need for professional development to keep them in the field so we don't have to keep training our teachers.
As a grandparent of a 4K, he loves school. He is so excited when he brings home a report that says he did a good job that day. Mimi, are you proud of me? I mean, he is like, he loves it. So they're all doing something great, so thank you.
They are. They're a pretty amazing group of teachers we've got, so.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Miranda.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Any announcements?
No announcements at this time?
So we are at,
Did you want to mention that thing now, or?
It's coming.
Is that later? I'm sorry.
It's coming. So we are down to consent agenda. We can take them all, or if anybody needs to pull something.
Motion to approve as presented.
Okay. Second. Any questions, any clarifications? If not, all in favor of the entire consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Perfect, thank you. Which brings us down to board business. So Rebecca has put in the folders for the people who, so make sure that you go through your folder and take that paper out. And I think our board reorganization is going to be after have we decided on that for sure?
Yep,
that's still under future agendas and meetings.
But we haven't, we do need to approve or motion that in. So should we talk about the legislative update? And then we'll get to meetings.
Just board reorg, is that here, or is that?
We're gonna have it here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I crafted a letter to the Joint Finance Committee. I used a model from WASB, and I apologize if you didn't get a chance to read it until just this moment. But basically made a case for the help we need from the state legislature for connecting per pupil aid to inflation and increasing the special education aid. And I think this is something worthwhile to send. It will go to all the Joint Finance Committee members. There's a link that I was given for that. There have been listening sessions starting early April. There's 2 more yet, the last 2 weeks of April, before they get together and start making some decisions as to where we want to go with the budget. So at least it's a chance to share our story here in Waunakee.
And I did have a chance to read the letter. Nice job. I appreciate that you took the time to do that. So are these going to just be sent electronically, or do you want to hard copy and sign and send?
Say that again.
Are they just going to be sent electronically?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, anybody have any concerns about sending this on behalf of the board?
Great job, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Steve and I helped with some of the numbers to make sure I wasn't misrepresenting anything, so I appreciate your help.
Great. Thank you.
No?
I don't think we need a motion.
Send her out, let her fly.
Yeah. Correspondence, anything else, Dr. Brown?
No correspondence.
So we are up to future agendas. So, did I get yeah, I did get a copy of something. So Rebecca's been working hard to keep the committees going prior to our reorganization and onboarding our new members. So we're doing some subbing with the 4 members that we have. So we have budget on Monday, the 5th at 7:30. And I will sub in with Mark and
That's on
Dawn.
the 5th.
On the 5th.
Thank you.
And then we have facility also, no, facility on the 6th at 7:30. And that would be Ted, myself, and Dawn, you're gonna sub in for facility. And then we have HR on the 7th at 7:30. And that would be myself, Dawn, and Mark, you're gonna sub in?
Yep, that works.
Okay. So those 3 committee meetings, and then we would like to have our reorganization meeting after our walkthrough of the middle school at 6 o'clock here on the 29th. And we need a motion to have that meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Will that work for you on the 6th, Ted? Yep. So all in favor, say aye.
On the 29th. On the 29th.
29th for Ted, yep. And we have the tour before that on the 29th at 5. And then we have curriculum presentations, but we had that on the
On the
calendar.
28th.
On the 28th, but that has been on the calendar, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And
But
for
we
the,
didn't have it, the location yet, but we just got that together.
That's at the intermeeting.
and for the tour, we should meet over at, not meet here, we
No.
should meet at the middle school.
So for the tour on the 29th, we're just gonna meet at the middle school. It's for everybody.
Is that weather permitted?
Hopefully it's been dry. Hopefully we can walk around this time.
Well, we'll be over there a couple times before that, so we'll let you know.
Okay, I think we are ready to adjourn. Should we have one, we should have a threesome adjourn this meeting. 1, 2, 3.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Okay.
Third.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. And before you go, I ordered a beautiful chocolate cake with buttercream frosting and purple flowers and a wise thing on it, and they forgot my order and lost it. So I have something else, and we'll bring it out anyway.
All right.
So, have a little cake.
Judy always brings the
Bring the food.